On the morning of June 5th, 1981, a young girl named Jovanna Crawford was in the care of her mother's boyfriend, Ronald Garrett, inside their apartment in the P.T. Barnum housing project on Taylor Drive in Bridgeport. Jovanna's mother had asked Garrett to bring the child over to visit her maternal great-grandmother, Mary Moles, who also lived within the same housing complex. According to Garrett, events took an unusual turn later that morning. He told investigators that at approximately 10:20 a.m., an unidentified boy came to the apartment door. The boy claimed that Mary Moles had sent him to pick up Jovanna. Garrett later described the child as a black boy around 10 or 11 years old, with small braids in his hair. He said the boy was dressed in a blue and white pinstriped suit. Although Garrett did not know the boy's name, he told police he believed he recognized him as someone from the neighborhood. Trusting that explanation, Garrett allowed the boy to take Jovanna from the apartment. Jovanna was never seen again. When Jovanna's mother returned home at around 5 p.m. that evening, she realized something was terribly wrong. Jovanna had not been brought to her great-grandmother's home, and no one had seen the mysterious boy Garrett described. Police were called and a search began. During the investigation, authorities discovered a purple bath towel with bloodstains inside the apartment's bathroom. However, investigators were unable to determine whether the blood belonged to Jovanna. 4 days later, Ronald Garrett was arrested and charged with felony risk of injury to a minor for allowing the child to leave with the unknown boy. He was later convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison. Despite Garrett's account, Jovanna's great-grandmother stated she had never sent anyone to retrieve the child. In fact, no one living in the housing project reported seeing a boy matching Garrett's description that day. No one ever came forward claiming to be the boy. Investigators have never been able to confirm that he existed at all. Garrett has never changed his story and continues to maintain that he had nothing to do with Jovanna's disappearance. Authorities strongly suspect foul play. Decades later, the mystery of what happened to Jovanna Crawford remains unsolved. In the early morning hours of Sunday, October 29th, 1995, a series of frantic 911 calls alerted authorities to a horrifying scene unfolding on the streets of Hartford. At approximately 4:49 a.m., callers reported seeing a woman being dragged by a moving vehicle along Locust Street and west on Elliott Street towards Wethersfield Avenue. Witnesses described the car as resembling a dark-colored Nissan Maxima, possibly a 1995 model or a similar make and year. One caller, using a fire emergency telephone at the corner of Elliott Street and Wethersfield Avenue, reported seeing the vehicle continue southbound on Wethersfield toward the neighboring town of Wethersfield. The caller, a woman, has never been identified. Investigators have long hoped she might still come forward with additional information. Around the same time, a Hartford police officer patrolling north on Wethersfield Avenue near Elliott Street noticed a small dark-colored car entering the avenue from Elliott Street. The vehicle was traveling south with its headlights turned off. As it passed, the officer observed something being dragged from the passenger side of the car, although the object was not immediately identifiable in the darkness. Realizing something was wrong, the officer attempted to pursue the vehicle, but it quickly sped away and disappeared from sight. Determined to locate what had been dragged behind the car, the officer followed a visible trail of liquid left along the pavement. The trail eventually led to Jordan Lane near Ridge Road in Wethersfield. There, against the northern curb of the street, the officer discovered a young woman suffering from devastating injuries. EMTs soon arrived at the scene, but there was nothing they could do. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. An autopsy conducted by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner determined that the victim had died from extensive blunt force trauma. Her death was officially ruled a homicide. Authorities later identified the victim as 24-year-old Leah Ulbrich, who had ties to both Hartford and New Britain. In the years that followed, investigators from the Hartford Police Department and the Wethersfield Police Department conducted an extensive investigation into Leah Ulbrich's murder. Detectives carried out numerous interviews and examined forensic evidence in an effort to determine what had happened during those tragic early morning hours. In November of 2001, the investigation gained renewed interest when the cold case unit from the Office of the Chief State's Attorney joined Hartford and Westerfield authorities in re-examining the evidence. Despite years of investigative work, the person responsible for Leah Ulbrich's death has never been identified. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Authorities continue to seek information that could finally bring answers and justice for Leah Ulbrich. A reward of $50,000 has been offered for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. Nina Coe was last seen on the afternoon of July 16, 2015. She was returning to her home in Middletown after a dentist's appointment. According to investigators, she arrived back at her residence at around 2 p.m. Phone records later showed that her phone remained active inside the home for several hours afterward. Based on those records, authorities believe Nina was still at home and using her phone until approximately 8 p.m. that evening. After that point, all contact with her stopped. Nina Coe has never been seen or heard from again. Nearly 2 weeks later, investigators searched Nina's residence. During that search, authorities discovered blood on a mattress inside the home. While the discovery raised serious concerns, investigators later determined that the blood was likely connected to an earlier incident that had occurred several weeks before her disappearance. In June of 2015, Nina had taken legal steps to protect herself from a man she had been dating, Gregory Earhart. On June 16th, she applied for a restraining order against him, stating that she feared for her safety. The order was officially granted on June 29th and was scheduled to remain in effect until the summer of 2016. In the paperwork, Nina told authorities that she was afraid of Earhart and claimed he had threatened to kill her in her sleep. Gregory Earhart has a criminal history dating back to the 1980s, including felony convictions for assault and unlawful restraint. In August of 2015, shortly after Nina disappeared, Earhart was arrested for violating the restraining order. He admitted that he had contacted Nina prior to her disappearance and stated that he had encountered her at a supermarket during the week she went missing. Investigators later uncovered additional details about a violent incident that had taken place on June 26, just 3 weeks before Nina vanished. According to court documents, Earhart allegedly stabbed Nina in the neck with a pair of scissors during an altercation. Nina did not seek immediate medical treatment, but later visited a walk-in clinic with her daughter and son-in-law after they noticed the injury. Authorities believe the blood discovered on the mattress during the July search was connected to this earlier assault. Because Nina Coe had existing health issues, authorities considered her disappearance especially concerning. Friends and family have stated that it would be completely out of character for her to leave without notifying anyone. Although investigators have not publicly named Gregory Earhart as a suspect in her disappearance, foul play is strongly suspected.